Good morning, guys. Okay, so we've had Bitcoin CME Gap being filled at the moment, and the argument is with the CME Gap being filled, what's going to happen with Bitcoin next? So we've got a scenario where Bitcoin is starting to push up demand, and we are moving close to an area where I would look to short. So the betting man in me says, as a trader, I'm allowed to take both sides of the market. So just like there, we're moving in the same area. Are we going to get a massive quick sell-off, a flash crash, as they would say, test of demand? Or are we going to break through and do that on the other side? That's all up to be debated and laid out for us for today. We're going to be looking at Ethereum as well. I mean, I've been saying to you guys, stay in your alt, stay in your alt, stay in your alt. Although Bitcoin is very short-term, long-term, your spot's still good. I still feel like we're going to move up. So Ethereum is starting to push up. Are we going to go make a higher high? That's the big question for today. Solana is also moving. You know, yesterday we were here. Yesterday we were looking at these lows and explaining that Solana has legs to go to around 240. So all these things seem to be playing out nicely. So if you're new to the channel, let me know. If you're regular, say hi, and let's get into the charts. And while you're at it, do me a favor, smash the like, hit the subscribe, you know, all those YouTube kind of things. Okay, let's look at the CME gap real quick. Now, we know that the data around CME gaps, when a CME gap gets created, statistically, 50% of the time after the CME gap's created, on the Monday, the first day after the gap, price goes and retraces back into the CME, which we did the trading day, the first trading day after the creation. And if we don't move into that CME, then we did there, we pumped up nicely. If we don't, statistically, 30% of the time, if it's created, it does go and visit that within the first week after its creation. So you've got about 5 days prior to the creation, where if we move in the CME gap, you're trying to trade in harmony with the trend. Either if it's going up, you try and buy the CME for more. If it's going down, you have to short the CME for more. So the trader in me, although things are looking very green and blue and bullish, and the general census in crypto is bullish, we're doing the opposite. We're trying to look for what is the most logical risk to reward ratio at this stage. And the invalidation for that is very simple. If you look at where the RSI is moving, we're slowly but surely getting to a point where the RSI will be making a higher high. With the RSI making a higher high, what should happen with price to invalidate hidden bearish divergence? Also make a higher high. Therefore, up until around 17,700, this is going to be a big resistive area or barrier to the bulls, meaning that price is going to, or whoever is trying to push Bitcoin price down or selling or taking profit, this is the zone between where we are right now and this level is the zone where that bears are going to try and add to their positions. Just like it's buy the dip from the bullish point of view, you know, there has to be an invalidation. Otherwise, the bulls, for the bulls to want to buy the dip, the same is happening there for the bear side of things. So we're trying to be as impartial as possible. Remember, this is just for the trader side. We're going to look at the long-term spot bags later during the stream. So for me at this stage, from a trader point of view, I am expecting, and it's a no-brainer at this stage, that even a little bit more upside is going to push price into our CME gap, and it's going to give us, with all certainty, a hidden bearish divergence. Okay, now as far as divergences go, for those that maybe are not quite as well versed in them or still finding your feet, learning how they work, it is the fourth one today. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. There we go. There's two kinds of divergences that really makes sense, or two types. Okay, you get reversal divergences where we're trying to pick tops and bottoms, and you've got continuation divergences. And the rule of thumb is always treat the continuation divergence as the stronger one. The trend will last indefinitely until it breaks. And our job as a trader is not to try and overthink these things, try and make too much of that. So if we get a situation where price does not go and make a higher high and the RSI does, that is hidden bearish divergence and sounds a continuation of move. Okay, so where we're at right now, that is the area that I would start narrowing down for myself. Now, what invalidates divergences? Typically is when price closes above the pivot, meaning if we have a scenario where price starts trading here and the RSI is obviously higher as well, then it is a bull trend and that's it. No more bearishness. We shorted the market here because there was hidden bearish divergence. Okay? And it failed. It does fail, but where's the invalidation? The invalidation lived there. We went long there, and we were able to take some good gains out of this. So that's just the nature of things. So there's no guarantees, but statistically, this is the most plausible scenario for us. So if you use the last analysis to say, well, this time it's not going to happen because I need my alts to pump a little bit harder, you're setting a narrative and you're going down a slippery slope. We can go to further areas where we had exactly the same play out, hidden bearish divergence. Okay, well, I'm now looking for it real quick. Nothing marked up on this chart. We'll move to a different chart. And you'll see that statistically, 65% of the time, they're going to play in favor of the trend. So if you've got a 2 to 3 risk to reward ratio, or 2 to 5, 1 to 3, or 1 to 5, or 1 to 10 even for that matter, it means that if you have one winner, you can have 10 losers. But 65%, they're always going to play out. So it is a sure thing to make money. You just need to play the odds, not the trade. That's the key here. Okay, so over to Bitcoin then with the CME gap. We've got the CME data and all the stats. We kind of want to just have a look at one more thing before we look at Bitcoin on this chart, and that is the big news for today. So today we have the preliminary US GDP figures come out. Okay, what does this mean? Well, the whole reason the inflation was identified as a problem was strong economy means that, come on now, it doesn't want to load. Let's just refresh. Do these things live. A strong economy leads to, a really good manufacturing, and then prices go up because everybody's turning profit and everybody's greedy. Everybody wants to make more. And that means a rise in prices. So if you're doing well and I'm doing well, I can charge more for a loaf of bread and you'll be willing to pay for the loaf of bread. I make more money, but because you're making more money, you're okay with that. You know, that kind of thing. And the interest rate is a way that the government can just curb that kind of spending, cool the economy down so that the inflation doesn't run rampant. Because if we do, we always spend, it leads to an insane crash where everybody just doesn't have anything and nobody can buy nothing from anybody. So they try and avoid that. It's almost like a dampening effect. So the higher the interest rates, for that matter, the more dampening we need to bring the GDP down and to prevent that blow off top, if we could use that. And if we then switch the interest rates, it means that the economy is weak enough, we can relax the monetary policy, and it means that people will free up a little bit of cash. They're spending, less interest will be charged, and that's going to incentivize big money or smart investor money to now do what? To not be in the dollar, because the dollar is no longer going to give you the best percentage or the no-brainer gains. They're going to start looking at stocks, and it's going to slowly start heating up the economy as well. So the GDP figures is a measure of that. Now we do get 3 preliminary data, and then you have your physical figure, because they have to gather a lot of data going forward. Now around this time, the GDP forecast is around 3.1%. So this is what the market is expecting. Now, if we assume that any buys that happen in the market, even yours, is looking forward, meaning I'm acting today on the assumption that something's going to happen in the future. I'm not going to buy Solana today if you're saying the future it's going to go down. I'm going to buy it because somebody said, and I believe that it was going to go up. Hence the fact of the transaction. So any of these red folder events, if the news comes out different than what is forecasted, it means people are going to back out of their positions or change their mind, and this brings volatility to the market. Simple as that. So if we then head over to BTC real quick, It's that kind of volatility that I'm waiting for a swing long if the market gives that to me. So within the next, 4.5 hours, if we can get back down to say around 112,600 thereabout, that would be a really good area for me to try and look for a swing long. Now, why the hell would this guy now look for a swing long if I was just explaining to you that it's a good time to short the market? Yet again, it is insurance. Because we're at the bottom of a range and we haven't yet breaking a potential long-term bearish trend, this could be the first entry of many that could see Bitcoin move back to 120, 150, even whatever the dream you're trying to trade towards could be. And in order to get in on that dream to buy, you have to buy when it's uncertain. Because if you buy when it's certain, this was certain going to go up, that's when it reverses. Everybody's actions matter. If everybody has bought, there's literally nowhere but down for price to go because there's no more buyers. There's nobody willing to pay more for it. The same for the move going to the down. So the betting man in me says, okay, if the short, which I'm waiting for, is going to fail, I will smile because I'm in the long, okay? And I'm going to use that volatility if it presents itself to me. So any pullbacks around 112 thereabout, I will look to go long there. Now, to look at the short side of things, we have an imbalance in price around this area. We do have a channel, a supply and demand channel, as Bitcoin is correcting. Okay, it's correcting to try and find out what is cheap, where's the base. And when we do, and if we do get to the point where price breaks through and starts hitting resistance, say at around 115, or from 114 up all the way to 115, it is almost guaranteed at this stage that there will be an RSI making a higher high, with price definitely still lagging below. And the short trader in me is then going to use that with this as my invalidation to try and look for the short. When we get to the demand area, I will take profit on that short because it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't continue on higher. And when we get to the short area, if I have the long entry already, I will be getting out of that, not completely, partially, to secure some profit because I will always be able to add more to my long again here, meaning the plan for the retrace. If it does happen, I have that long area to continue on with the trade. Okay, and that's trading wise for us at this stage. So your best direction for now would be to try and get in with the momentum and try and see where that's going to take us, because we need a little bit more bullish momentum for there to be either a bull trap, the market sells off lower, or for there to be a shakeout, a bear trap, meaning it gives you divergence, doesn't go that far down, and a continuation. And in both instances, the argument is you just want to position yourself for both eventualities. Okay. Things that we can do to maybe add a little confluence to the short side of the market. We can have a look at this. This is the typical stuff that retail will be drawing. So where we're at right now, there will be a reluctance for people to go short. Why? Because we are breaking trend. That's a good sign. If we're breaking trend, we're going to go to the moon. So we are banging in the long as insurance because everybody gets to be right occasionally for them to be wrong consistently. But we also know that we could potentially do that and create a bull trap and sell off. That's it. Okay, so that's the whole message for Bitcoin. Hope that makes sense. In the comments, let me know, guys, if it was done simple and easy enough for you to follow, and if you've got any questions. That's it. Over to the comments real quick. Whoever was there, let's quickly say hi. Good morning, Mr. Arpit. Nice to have you here. Hello, Renee, Katrine, Bronwyn, and a hell of a lot of you guys more. Good morning to each and every one of you guys. Nice to have you here. Okay. Now, let's have a look at Ethereum, because the same short time frame play is going to impact Ethereum, and we need to decide whether Ethereum is due for a sweep the low before we go, or Ethereum is done and it's going to start running quite fast again. It's a tough one, so let's unpack the stuff with what do we know. So I'm going to bring in the RSI again, and I'm going to highlight the critical support and resistance areas for you guys so that we can look at that from a practical point of view. Okay, so resistance will be living at around 4,800. That was when the market decided there was a lot of weakness and turned around. We did have a little grass at an all-time high, which was very nice. And at the end of the day, the institutional investors, they always buy all-time highs. Why? Because an all-time high will keep on pushing into new all-time highs, new price discovery, until one day where it fails. And if we go and have a look at historical data, it's very seldom or at all where something will go make one all-time high for one day further and then be bearish again for 3 or 4 more years, just to build back up to go one day all-time high again and then be bearish for 3 or 4 years again. So just from that kind of rationale, it means that although Bitcoin might look dodgy and iffy and shaky, Ethereum does have a lot more upside potential for us because of that reasoning. It's as simple as that. Okay, so where we're at right now, we're very close to trying to push a new all-time high. We did it already soon. And what is going to be hampering that momentum would be short traders saying it's not going to go and make a new all-time high. How would that look on the chart? Well, simple. You would look for an RSI going lower, but price going higher, because we want to break the trend. We're not looking for continuation to the downside because it's not been going down. It's been going up. So we want to break the trend. So the first thing that I want to do is define whether this 5 or this top of the first complex wave, whatever the case may be, there's so many ways. I'm just going to delete some of this, is in fact there, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so if we look at the RSI, and this is now a 4-hour analysis, you will see that there you have a pivot, which is support. There you have your first divergence, and price hovering around, and picture perfectly, stay on top of it, but hovered around, turning this, what is resistance, into support, meaning the move's not done, and we made a higher high. When we got there, we had the same divergence playing out at that, and as I always say, you remain bullish as long as price stays above support. Now, Ethereum screwed us a little bit because I was hoping, because we did this, that we were going to go test these areas, because on the higher time frames, that is where support pivot lives. And we didn't get that. So we didn't get that long entry in there. Now, as the rule goes, when something is fast, it doesn't last. And we had an extremely fast breakout. I mean, this happened really quick. And as a result, we reversed the entirety of that move. So it doesn't mean it's over. It means that now we're going to do a sensible way to try and get to that area. And in that sensibility, what we're looking for is strong bullish or strong bearish divergence as a bullish signal. So I want to see price do the following. Get above 4,832. The RSI has to lag below this. And that will actually be a bullish signal. Because if everybody's anticipating the reversal, they're going to start getting their shorts in, and they're going to start looking for hidden bearish divergence or a continuation of a correction. Okay. And we want to try and see whether they're going to fail. So will I go long leverage on Ethereum right at this moment? Hell no, because I know that if we get above this level, this will be turned into support. And as the rule goes, you buy good support areas. You don't try and trade in the middle of the range, because this is what waits for us. Now, this makes sense, and it's also proven in the price. So if I do this, you can see that Ethereum, 2%, the chart is mid-range. People are uncertain. So somebody needs to push it up, but it's not going to be me, that kind of mindset. And if we look at Solana, which is a completely different beast, has now shot up. It's up 6% for the day, because the chart looks more confident than Ethereum's chart at this stage. Okay. And that's for that reason. So now you know, you understand, you know what I'm looking for, and you know why if I were to leverage trade today, the bigger gains, if the breakout occurs, will probably be from Ethereum. But I'm looking for the most probable scenario. And the most probable scenario says that Ethereum is going to be grinding slow, similar to what Bitcoin does. Okay, that's it. If there's any questions, drop them in the comments, and we can have a look at that. No comments, no questions. Okay, everybody's awake and ready. There's about 200 people watching live at this stage. Give me a 777. Come on. Give me a 777 in the comments. I just for the sake of it. Okay. Moving on to the alts, guys. We're going to look at Solana and everything else. If you want to support the content, back the channel, and back your trades, all you need to do is open your own Bybit account. Video is brought to you by Bybit. If you use my affiliate link to open your Bybit account, in addition to trading on one of the best exchanges out there, you will also have access to my buddy indicator. The indicator functions very simple. It has all the reasoning and the rationale that I use to do the analysis with you built in, and it gives it in a form of a signal service. Okay, so it says enter between the purple lines, take profit 1, 2, and 3. It says enter between the purple lines, take profit 1, 2, and 3. And just like any signal service or any trade analysis, your best bet is to say that realistically, if you have a 65% accuracy with a decent risk to reward win ratio, you're going to be in the money, and the indicator does just that for you guys. Okay, we can have a look at some of its easier plays but everything is there. You cannot get this indicator other than getting and using one of my links. Okay, there you have it. Sanku, thank you for the 7s. Dennis, thanks, and Mr. Chris as well. Okay, let's move on to our altcoins. Probably not a bad time to say, if you want more as well, you can always join the Discord. The private side of the Discord is for the lifetime members. It's a simple once-off transaction, and you're in there forever. You get access to everything I do. I do daily periodic updates on the markets, the trades, the setups I take, the trades I take, I share with everybody there, as well as coaching, any frustrations you're finding in the trading. We try and look at everything in there. It's a really tight-knit, awesome community, and for serious guys that wants to up their game. So it's on you. Right. Let's then continue on with. So Ethereum, I think personally, to sum it up in a one-liner scenario, I think it's going to try and push for all-time high again today to consolidate above this level. If Bitcoin starts falling below 109 and so forth, the short does play out strong. There is that potential for this, but then I'm going to use that BTC short as a hedge for this. I don't have a very clean short setup sitting on Ethereum at the moment. The chart doesn't support me going short on this one. So I'll just sit on my hands, and I do have spot ownership longs on ETH. That's the only thing that I've got going for me there. So looking at Solana. So Solana is pushing up to $240. Okay. And that is a massive resistance level. That's going to start bringing it into the same light as Ethereum, trying to get past that all-time high. So there's a lot that still needs to happen for Solana to try and get it there. The hope is where we're at right now, because momentum is strong, it needs to be a fast move, like a big, quick move of candles. Because what that then will do for us at some stage, it will bring it back so that we consolidate. The fast moves don't last, guys. When it's slow, let it grow. When it's fast, it won't last. So then you can wait for wherever that happens, and you can use that as the support to add to swing longs should you have. So where it's at right now, it's in a nice scalp long position. Trade with the momentum. Try and get yourself in. And it's very close to a demand zone. So I mean, if it loses 200, things are bad. So it's $14 worth of risk on a Solana coin. It's not a bad deal at this stage to try and see if you can make that additional $35 per coin minimum. Okay, so that's the trade for me for Solana. I think personally I would rather trade there than anywhere else. Okay, now Cardano at this stage, the same then plays, but it's a little different message. It's sitting at support, so it was looking a little bit weaker. At one stage, it did look like it's going to just jump all the way back to $1.30, but it's fine. It's turning in good support at around 85 cents a coin. Now, if we can hover around this area and the Bitcoin long does play out, and starts moving, Solana will slowly start creeping up to do what would probably be another base building for another big move to the upside. So I won't leave Solana at this yet, but try and leverage trade this one just now. I won't necessarily do that. I've shown you the charts that I think is the better one. So these are good for spot. They're still good to hold for longer, but I won't necessarily leverage trade this one. Okay. Now let's have a look at some of these coins that I think a lot of people are hanging on their fingers, hoping, hopium coins. Hopium coins like Sonic. For me, guys, this is still a stay away coin. Don't touch this. It's sitting above support. So if you have Sonic, it's fine. You don't want to hold it when it goes or starts trading below 30 cents, because then it's going to go on another discount round. The nice thing with Sonic is we do have resistance around 42. So it is quite close to each other. So it doesn't need to go up 1,000% just to break through a resistance level. So it's manageable and achievable. So time this thing if we start breaking out these channels to see if it's going to go above 43 and probably turn that into support. So for now, if you want to buy, you can buy preemptively, but it could turn out just like Celestia. And this is the thing. So hope doesn't turn markets bullish. Okay, it does the opposite. It turns them bearish. So Celestia, I mean, we were looking at these areas here as don't fall below this range, don't fall below this range. And then it started looking like there was hope, and then it just turned around. Bitcoin didn't go that much down, was just retracing a little bit, but this coin dumped and lost support. So I would do exactly the same. Just wait for this thing, just like Sonic, to just regain some level, some area of support. Then things will look good. Now, a good example would be to maybe look at AZERO. That would probably be something, because it launched, come on, load, because it launched in there's the example. Let me just get everything there for you. I'm going to have to scale this thing up into a higher time frame to make my point. But it launched in the beginning of the bear market. And I say Sonic could either be there with the potential for a up, but if we don't make a higher high, it's just short-lived gains to just dump further. And the same for Celestia. That's the kind of picture I'm just trying to sell with you guys. I'm not trying to say that it's bad fundamentally or anything like that. I'm just saying that the risk means that it's probably not ready to move. And this is how people get trapped, because it goes from there to there, it doubles in value, and everybody thinks this is now its time. And then it just dumps down even lower still. So you don't want to be holding something that could turn into this. Simple as that. NEWT, recent one that we were looking at. Same story. What was the play? We wanted to get in on it, double our money. That was I just took 52%. I was happy. It went to the 50% of the launch wick. And then the argument was you can hold this as long as it stays above 32 for another run to the upside. Once it loses that area, your hope doesn't help you. It's just going to keep on giving you hope with a little bit of a pump, then doesn't quite get to where you entered or where you wanted to get out, and then dumps down lower and continues doing that indefinitely until the demand or the supply runs out. So you don't want to turn these coins like Celestia and Sonic. You don't want to be in them because they could potentially keep on doing this. Okay. For now, you do have options. Stay away from these kind of coins. You don't want to try and time it. Okay. Now, when do we want to time it? We can use examples like Mantle. I've been saying to you guys, I was looking at Mantle for forever. And the kind of time the market would look as follows. It's going to keep on doing this where it drops support, drops support even more. And if you zoom in, and this is the hopium that I'm looking at now, is once we start reclaiming critical areas of support, okay, where was it? There. So we're sitting in a situation where Sonic is there and Celestia is there. Once it reclaims a critical area and turns resistance into support, goes through it and comes back on the other end to turn it into support, that's when you want to try and grab it. Because if you think about this, what would have paid more? yes, buying there, but if you kept on hoping that this is the low, you will never know. You would be wrecked by the time that you do get the breakout. Okay? And your average price would probably still be good, but it doesn't make for a nice consistency. It's not something you can replicate indefinitely. At some stage, you're going to run out of money. We all do. So that's a bad strategy. So if you can wait for that to happen with Sonic and Celestia, and it does, it will always inevitably go back to that zone to test it as support. That's when you want to enter. And if the momentum stays strong and remains strong, it's going to keep running. Now, Mantle explained, this is its all-time high. It literally tickled its all-time high. Now, Mantle, just a little bit of background, was called BitDAO. That was Bybit's own DAO. And Bybit DAO doing well means that there's a lot of activity on the chain and all those things. You see all those posts, which means that there's still a potential that this thing then goes into $1.80. Now, once we're here, we're in price discovery. So it means that things could quickly start running to $2, $3. It could turn itself into what Sui did for us. So you have to be open to the possibilities for that. So I won't necessarily just get the hell out. Now, what do I have that tells me that it's want to go in my favor? Well, simple. This is a 4. Why is it a 4? Because we do have hidden bullish divergence. Price is staying. It's not sweeping lows. I mean, there's the lows. And the RSI is moving down. It's resetting itself. Now we're on the bullish side of the RSI. So as long as the RSI trades bullish, think about that, the coin remains bullish. Okay, so that is a really good sign for us. So we're opening and closing in the area. The coin is remaining bullish. So we could have an RSI that chops around like this again for a couple of weeks while this thing then finds its way up. And when it chops around, you want to look for the lows to be lower because it keeps on giving you hidden bullish divergence until it doesn't. And then you know the reverse is imminent. So I think that there's a lot more gains to be had on this as opposed to, say, buying Sonic or holding Celestia, even OP for that matter. You know, those kind of coins are just not there yet. You know, this has got momentum, it's strong, and there's room left for more. There you go. Okay. Let's have a look at HBAR real quick. Okay. So I'm going to just hit the weekly time frame just to give a nice big frame of reference, and then we'll zoom into this. This is a scenario where you've had a long accumulation, breakout, a test, and now we're in mid-move again to try and see if we can make higher. There is going to be a lot of supply sitting at around 36 cents. So if you're in something like HBAR and you're trying to say, well, it's now going to go to $1 or $2, whatever the dream will be sold to you, understand, though, that, yes, upside is a potential for this. But 50% of that wick is probably where supply lives. So any upside at around 23 cents, when you get to 36 cents, you need to start acting as resistance to try and see, because when it does this, gives you a top, goes there, there will be inevitably another wave down. Okay. And that is my take profit for that. So I would say HBAR does have momentum. It is looking good, but I will try and let's undo. Now I've moved so many things. It doesn't know what it wants to undo. I'm just going to put that back there, guys. Okay. I will use any of this to try and get to around 36 and take profit. Now, how much risk do I have? And this is the problem with HBAR if you're wanting to look to enter. We don't want to see a lower low. That's 40%, 47% drawdown, okay, from entry. And 52%. So it's a 50-50. Do we really want to be in something that's 50-50? Hell no. And that's the reality with the bigger time frame moves. Now we can zoom in on smaller time frames to reduce the risk. So if we go to the daily time frame, what would reduce the risk? Well, the only area where I could say that we do have a pivot, it's really messy. It's somewhere in this range here. So where would support be that was regained there? So I would personally try and wait for this to do that, which means that it might be slow to move with upside and fast to dump with downside in Bitcoin and Ethereum to try and get it there before the move happens. Now, does it need to touch that line to the cent? Hell no, because there's a little demand zone sitting right there. So the probability is around 20 cents would be an optimal area for you to enter into something like HBAR to see if it then can either go to 36 cents, close to double your money, and even into higher targets if allowed. Okay, so that's the play for HBAR. Be conservative at this stage because Bitcoin is still trending bearish. There is no bullish long-term short-term tone at this stage, and the market could fall the entire CME gap, push to 117, have a lot of bullish people, and then consolidate and see more coins dumped out. Just want to cover your bases around that. Okay, so still holding a leaf zero, 99% down. Yeah, but this is the thing when we look at these stuff. I mean, hindsight's 2020, and never kick somebody when they're down, and but if you were to just simplify your holding analysis, it's simple. You don't want it to lose launch lows. Lose launch lows, get out. But we at this stage then get so desperate because there is so much good momentum that tricks us. And that's why it's called hidden bearish divergence, guys. And hidden bearish divergence means that it looks bullish. This looks bullish, but in effect, if we look at these highs, it isn't. Treat the hidden stuff as important. So the coins that I've highlighted to you guys and the entries that I've highlighted to some of these guys, they are hidden entries. They're important. Treat them so. Okay. And when can we buy near as an example? I don't know when you can buy. You can buy near as soon as your finger can click on the button. When would be a good risk profile for near? Is obviously in the what you're asking me for. It's a tough one. Let's quickly open the near chart and then we'll take it from there. So if we look at near, and I'm going to go weekly time frame again. What do we have? Big dump, resistance. We're trying to stay above support. So near is one of those. It's not bullish. It's not a buy. It's not something I would even look at. This was support that was lost, was tested. We made back. We lost it again. So now that negotiation around $3 isn't done. So we have this as resistance. When's the last time we created support for ourselves to try and tested it? It was around $1.12. That would be support. And if something wants to go up, it will lock in supports. And if something wants to go down, it's going to lock in resistance areas. Okay. Now, yes, we do have imbalances living around this area, which means upside to that range would do this with the RSI. So if you're trapped and you're living in an area where your near entries are maybe around 16 or $10 and so forth, that's the kind of hopium that will cement you into, I should have just held, it's going to be okay. And then that's the kind of trap that you need to look out for, because that will be a nice place, a weak enough place for me to, if I want to trade against you, to launch this into support zones. That's it. Now, there's always many ways you can look at this. Now, if I want to try and sell you on a bullish theory, I can say, well, but look at this, this line. It's basically in a triangle, and when it's in triangles, it's consolidating. And you can say, well, now you're buying, always buy the bottom of the triangle, and you could be definitely right in that sense. Depends on how much money you have to spend on these things, and how much time you have. So it could mean that we chop around like this, and typically triangles only sort themselves out about 75% in. So there, which means we're leading into December next year before this triangle gets resolved. It's a long wait. So personally, when will I buy near? I won't buy near. Get above that level, give me something that it's worth trading on a lower time frame. I can always change my mind. That's the beauty about trading and investing into these things. That's just as a quick disclaimer, guys. Cannot give you financial advice. This is an educational podcast. I'm trying to arm you with as much knowledge as possible so you can apply this. There's 20 million coins. There's no way that I can chart each and every one of those coins for you. There you go, 20.2 million coins now. There's no way that I can chart each and every one of those coins. So if I arm you with the knowledge, you can think for yourself, and that is what the goal is here. Right. Let's see what else we have on the comment section real quick. There, that's everything. 40 minutes in, I think that's my cue to call it a day. Thanks so much for taking the time. Do me a solid, share the video with a friend. Yeah, join the Discord, get your Bybit account. And if you have an existing one, you can actually, on their website, just convert your KYC to one under the link so that you can get access to the buddy indicator and some of my Discord tools. It's as simple as that. Okay, why not? Support me. Thanks so much, guys. Oh, there was a question for Atom. Let's do that. Stanku, I will do an Atom for you real quick. Okay, so let's load Atom. I will use that one there. So it's the same as NEWT. You can immediately see this. So no brainer. Okay, what do we have weekly time frame? We have support there that was lost, so now it's resistance. Sold off. Any upside into this area, if you increase the time frame, will give you even more divergences and probably more hidden bearish divergence. So your best bet for bull market top, let's say things get really parabolic bullish, I won't bet on this thing going above 26. Okay, that's the first thing. Then if we zoom this into the daily time frame and use the same principles to analyze this, what do we have? We created a floor there, we tested the floor, and we lost it. So what do we have again? We've got resistance living at around $6 and 10 cents, 20 cents. Okay, nearest makes no difference. I always tend to just use the closing prices. It just gives you a cleaner looking chart. But there you have it, right? And when we got past it the first time round, we tried to turn it into support. So it's a significant price point for this coin. And we failed, meaning it is resistance still. And where we're at right now, we're sitting at $4. So are you interested in buying it at 4 to try and see if you can get it to 6? Okay, that's a 39% gain. It's not bad. But then where would you invalidate your bullish theory? Because that's the tricky part. That means where will support live? So if you look at this area here, this is where we found a base to try and get above it again. And we're doing exactly the same again now. We're trying to find a base here to try and get above it. And while we're doing it, the ranges are getting tighter, which is a good sign sometimes because it tells us that the manipulation is leaving, the hype, those for the good time, are leaving, and you're sitting in a situation where accumulation is taking effect. Wells or whoever wants to be investing in Atom long term, they are buying and accumulating price. So it doesn't have a lot of, pump and dumps anymore. It's a good sign, but still, this area lives as resistance. And with that being in, with looking at it like this, then zooming in at this stage, what do you not want to see? You don't want to see price break through this area, move to around $5, okay? Because then it will create what? Bull trap, because we just broke through resistance. And with an RSI that shoots up and does, it doesn't make a higher high. So if it pops, it needs to go ballistic to delete the divergence, or else it's just going to create a bull trap to go back down to support before it can probably then rally, because it's clearly not resolved all that needs to happen. It's chopping around. It's a kangaroo coin. Now, thinking about what the potentials could be, will it look like this? Is it going to do this? Is it first going to dump and then go there? That's where you're going to get tripped up, because you're looking for something to say that if I'm on tune with this coin and my analysis is true, it's going to play out exactly as I wanted to play at each and every step. No, wait for it to do whatever it wants to do and wait for it to give you that go-ahead signal. Simple. Get above it, delete some of this hidden bearish divergence that will eventually be there, and then build support. I'll rather pay more for it, but know that it's in an uptrend, than paying less for it, but just to sit with it going sideways with a massive question mark behind it. Okay. Stanko, hope that sorts you out. PLSX, I did that on Twitter yesterday, so you guys can just head over to my Twitter page. I did an update for the PLSX guys there. I'm just going to go to my profile. Let's quickly load that there. there. So you can find everything that you need to know there. I used the same rationale as I'm talking through there. This was what we said a while ago, expected that this thing's going to go back to support. We need to delete the divergence, that kind of thing. Once we have broken through support, the argument is that, oops, wrong thing. Once we've broken through support and tested that area, you can see there it went down now. Now you want to see this thing reclaim that area. I'd rather pay more for it, for upside, as opposed to that. The nice thing is, though, as opposed to the other coins, this thing has now almost created its triangle pattern, its consolidation. So who wants it or wanted the coins long term, they have it. Who was there for the short term, they've lost and left, that kind of thing. So it is poised for a good markup. But then as well, the other side is also true. It is poised for a good dump should that happen as well, guys. Okay. There you have it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Cheers.